Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, co-host, here with Joe Daniel, as always.
What's up, Coach?
Coach, we are Snowmageddon is not outside yet. It's almost.
Coming down.
Very rarely do we talk about weather anymore, but this has been a week of weeks. We have not had winter yet. It has been 80 and 70 and in January. So now we're going to be negative something, I don't know, and snow. 2 feet they're calling for. I know you're getting a bunch.
We are. It is now kind of, they keep changing, but it's kind of trending to the north of us a little bit more, which now is putting us in ice instead of snow. But we'll see what happens. So
everybody south of us is getting that crap too. So
so we'll see what happens. There's a great panic as always, and I'm sure that you deal with the same thing. And anywhere that is not prepared for or used to significant snowfalls, like, once a year type of thing here. This is potentially like a once a, much, much longer time period.
Yeah.
But, there's the panic runs on the bread and milk. Luckily, we have a lactose intolerant and celiac house, so we couldn't care less.
We don't need that stuff.
We have rice. We have rice and chicken breasts. I'm coming for a competition. But yeah, they've been storming. I went to Home Depot last night. We talked before. I went out to test our generator, and I have other power sources. I'm not concerned. We have wood stove and everything, but I went out just to check to see. I have an old generator that my neighbor was getting rid of, and I was like, let me see if I can fix it. And I could. I think it was my level up at one point. I got it running, but the shutoff valve to the fuel leaks when you turn it on, so it's not getting enough fuel to the carburetor, and it's also leaking gas, which is bad. Went to order a new one, and they're like, it'll be there Sunday unless there's bad weather. And I'm like, there's going to be bad weather. So may not have a generator, but I ran up to Home Depot just to see if there was anything I could put together to get it running. And I could, but I decided not to. Home Depot at 8:20 last night was packed.
I'm sure.
With, people looking for everything from gas cans so that they could gas fill their generator, which that was why I didn't care about the valve, because this is the first chance that I've had to use the generator. So once I realized that they were all sold out of gas cans and all I have is a little 1 gallon can, I didn't care about the valve anymore. So it's
not going to last very long, is it?
I've never had one before. We'll be fine. So, and like I said, I have a 24-hour power brick. So that's powered and solar and everything. So we'll be good. But yeah. We're in a panic right now.
I live in the boondocks, so I was in Tulsa for, and I'll talk a little bit about it in my level up later, but I just went to Harbor Freight and was like, I need a toe strap and some clevises, because that's like, I will wait until it gets bad and then go pull people out of ditches, because that's just, it's fun and you do a good deed, but you have to go spend money to get ready to do that crap. And my last clevises pulled a disappearing act because I'm an idiot and left them back in my pickup. So extreme ownership, I threw them away. They did not get stolen. And so I had to get more. Anyway, it was an ordeal, but we got it taken care of. So if you're in Northeast Oklahoma, when you hear this, it'll be too late. But I've probably pulled.
If you're still stuck,
holler at me.
Call, but
All right, man. Let's talk about it. Power Minute here. We're talking about football coaching systems today. We're gonna start with talking about what is a system and building a system that you can stick with, because there's nothing worse than changing playbooks and systems and stuff every single year, and then adapting your system every season with the kids that walk in the door, because that's how we have to do it at small public schools in Virginia and Oklahoma and everywhere else, the people that I talk to. So should be a super good episode. Last week, we talked about defensive play calling system, a lot about, just how to know when to call the right plays and dialing up certain plays a few times a game, and, how to kind of prepare for that. Next week, we're going to have the first guest in quite some time. We will be talking about being a teacher on the football field, getting back into the pedagogy, which I just found out I've been pronouncing the word wrong for I'm 38 years old. So 38 years. But, and kind of just using traditional teaching methods to teach kids football. So should be a good time. So I hope you guys enjoy us having a guest for the first time in quite some time. Before we get going here, let's be honest. We all stole something from another coach at some point. Had a really long talk with an old DC yesterday, and he was talking about all the stuff he walked out of from Gary Patterson time, which, if you all know, the 425 is based on some old school Gary Patterson TCU stuff. But that's what this podcast is here for. If it gave you something today, or if it gives you something today, send it to the next coach in line, because that's kind of how this works. Steal from us, because we stole from people, and people will steal from you. That's how it all works. Joe, let's pay the bills real quick, man. We'll get in the conversation.
Yeah, since we are talking systems, the difference between a defense that wins championships and one that gives up big plays every Friday night isn't talent. It's your system. And if you don't have a real system in place, you spend every week chasing problems. Players are confused, coaches aren't aligned, and your defense is reacting instead of attacking. I worked with over 10,000 football coaches, and the biggest mistake I see is overcomplicating the game. You run a stack of plays that don't work with each other, front stunts, blitzes, and coverages with no real plan behind it, maybe even jumping from place to place and playbook to playbook. But when you install a true defensive system, everything changes. Your players play faster, your coaches call with confidence, and you start winning football games. And that's why I created a free guide called What You Need to Know to Build the Ultimate Defensive Football Coaching System. It gives you a blueprint to simplify your defense, get your players to buy in, and to take control of the game. You can get a free copy now at footballdefense.com and start building your ultimate defensive system today. Again, just go to footballdefense.com, put in your email address, and get access to the guide to building your ultimate defensive football coaching system. You're muted. It was a great transition.
Rookie.
We had to go on there.
Rookie mistake. 5 years in. We all know speed wins games. The real question is, are you fast enough? Speed changes everything. It turns average plays into touchdowns and good players into game breakers. But here's the truth. Real speed isn't just natural. It's trained. At Athletic Speed Movement, we show athletes how to get faster, quicker, and more explosive using proven methods that translate directly to the field. Our system was built by Del Basquette, who's done it at the highest levels, being the very first speed coach in the NFL. And it works for athletes at every level on the way down. So whether you're a coach looking to elevate your team or a parent wanting to give your athlete an edge, this is where speed starts. Go to athleticspeedmovement.com and learn how to build real speed that shows up on game day. Don't just play the game, outrun it. Still the best. Part 1. Joe, what is a system?
I was working on my L's.
That was good.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're not open enough, though. So a system, we talk about the playbook hierarchy, and we're going to do a full episode on the playbook hierarchy later on in the season. And the hierarchy of a playbook is the system goes to the playbook, goes to the game plan, goes to the actual play call that you make in the moment. And so the system is at the very top. What a lot of coaches, people think is the playbook is actually really the system. And the playbook is much smaller and the game plan is smaller than that. And then obviously you pick one of those things from all of that, and how do we get from the system to the play call in that moment? The system is everything. It starts with your overall philosophy, and it includes, the system generally for most coaches starts relatively small. Often it starts too big, but the system should start relatively small. From an offensive standpoint, we talk about inside run, outside run, off tackle run, and then a counter, and then put a play action off of the one that you do best, build everything around that. That's the core of your system, or can be the core of your system. That's a starting point. And, somebody who doesn't pay attention might go, that's not enough. You'll never win with that. Well, it evolves. And the way that the system evolves is you recognize the next thing that you need, and you add that in. But the system really, over time, the system becomes everything that you have done, can do, will do. We talk about in JDFB defensive systems, I teach 3 different coverage packages: cover 1, cover 3, and split field quarters. And then split field quarters has a number of checks within it. I don't include cover 0. We always have some sort of a cover 0 so that we can blitz out of it, but it's not a base coverage. But I always talk about we only run 2 of those coverages. So we have a primary coverage and a change-up coverage. For me personally, just because of the passing attacks that we've seen and the teams that I've been coaching, for the most part, the package has been either cover 1 as a primary and cover 3 as a secondary, or cover 3 as a primary and cover 1 as a secondary coverage for quite a while. We play a lot of smaller, the schools that I've been at, playing smaller schools in Virginia. We got to stop the big dogs are wing tees and stuff, and it's not high level passing for the most part. That's going to win us. At least that was going to get us to the next level that we need to get to.
Right.
Like you might have one team that's really, really good at passing, but you don't build your life around that. If you're 1-9, you get to 5-5 by beating the teams that run the ball okay, and whatever. So for us, split field quarters has always been in the system for years. It has not been pulled out of that for a while, but it's in the system. The system really is it can be very large. If you want to know what my defensive coaching system is, it is everything at JDFB. So if you go into JDFB and you see the 33 stack and the 3-4 and the 4-3 and the 4-2-5, and you see split field coverage, cover 1, cover 3, you see all the exotic blitzes out of every single one of those fronts. Some things that we've done that aren't even there that I just know, and I know coaches I could go to and use it, but we've used it, but it's not something that I've taught. All of that is the system. It's all in there. The different checks that we've used, for split field quarters, it's all the system. The key is all of that fits around a few core philosophies that are the system. And so for us, coach simple, play fast, win, umbrella run fits, levers, ASCA, all of those things, those are core principles that this system always fits. So the number of pages that are there, a lot of them never see the light of day. From season to season, they may never see the light of day. Haven't run an extensive, complex zone blitz package in a long time, me personally. Some of our coaches do, but I haven't in a while. So I haven't based out of a 3-3 in a long time. I'm based out of a 4-3 and even longer because I just haven't had the cats for it. So, all of those things, but they are in the system, but they all fit so when the mistake is that coaches go, well, what's your system? And this is a fine place to start. A fine place to start. What's your system? It's 4-2-5 defense. That's a fine place to start. You will find over time that will probably expand and change, but you start with a system. And I think a really interesting way to look at systems is outside of football. If it's always good to look at something else at the risk of anything, political that I don't care about. Like the US Constitution put together was a great system. It's stood the test of time. What's happened in that system is that every time somebody doesn't like something, they pass a new little law, or locally or state level or whatever. And so this side passes a law and that side passes a law and this side passes a law and that side passes a law. And the system, and we had all the amendments, and some of them are very good. And some of the things that we've done, not so much, and you can look and go back and forth, but things were added and added and added. And now we have a very, 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 very bloated system. And occasionally somebody goes in and tries to simplify the system, but the system is super, super bloated. And that's probably the biggest error in systems in football and probably systems in general, because it happens in businesses. Businesses start with a core philosophy. This is who we are. And then all of a sudden, there's tons and tons of businesses that start. McDonald's is great. Like, what do McDonald's make their money on? They make money selling cheeseburgers, fries, Coke, right? And then they're like, we're going to sell salads. Well, nobody wants a salad from freaking McDonald's. But McDonald's was able to go, okay, take that off the menu. Take that off the menu. And then they try it again. They try pizza and they try, I don't know, whatever. But at the end of the day, what does McDonald's make their money on? They French fries and cheeseburgers and Cokes. This isn't hard. The fish isn't the thing that's getting it, right? You can have it. It's fine, but it's not the core. I think one of the things that systems need is there's something needs to be built into the system to get the crap out. We don't have that. So we have that kind of government, but it's almost impossible. That's the playbook. That's where the next level comes in, is every year you start back with, what do we want to pull from the system this year? Because if you try to just go continuous flow from the end of 2025 and where all your guys were, 20 of them graduated, or you got a whole new group of 11 unders this year, and you just keep on going with what the playbook looked like at the end of 2025, day one in 2026, it's going to be a freaking disaster. It's going to be crap. You got to strip all the crap out, go back down to our system. Not only has, and the system should have ways to bring things in, it should have ways to take things out. I know our core philosophy. I know our blocking schemes. I know like our 2-run schemes. Like umbrella is a great example. I'm not bringing anything in defensively that doesn't fit the umbrella. Now, I've done this so long that I can fit just about anything to the umbrella, which causes problems in its own, but it's going to fit the umbrella. I've done it so long that just about anything can fit our 2-run schemes, right? We have a zone and a gap scheme, and I can fit just about anything to it if I want to, and it's all in the system. But that wasn't. Now I can kind of do that, and a lot of times I make a mistake with it anyway. But like there needs to be rules for how things get into the system. There needs to be a rule. Things don't have to leave the system. You just reset your playbook. But yeah, that's kind of my view of the system.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to view it, and it can become too bloated. And a lot of those things you don't get to practice enough for you to remain technically sound, right? Or you're going to forget how to do how did we do that back then, right? Maybe it is the 3-3.
Oh, yeah.
And you've been in the 4-2-5 or any even front for 15 years, and you try to go back to, well, we did run the 3-3 one time. It is in the system, but you got to really, you're going to be coaching up a whole new thing. So I even think systems evolve to the point where old things do die out. Like, sure, it's in there. Okay. But to go back, you're probably going to look up the most modern version of it anyway to see if someone else has evolved it on their own and then add that back to your system. So I'm a big proponent of things falling out of a system as well. But that is a wonderful hierarchy way to look at it, of all the crap I can do is in the cloud. The playbook is what I pull down any given year. And then, of course, we get into game night and game plans and all the way down to a single play call. If you defensively, you can look at that last week and go back and listen where we talked about that a bunch.
Yeah, specifically last week, the play call.
Yeah. Let's jump into the second part here, Joe, because I think what is a system's pretty, you explained it so stinking well. Building a system you can stick with. And so I think this is one where people probably overdo in the beginning, because when you start to build out a system, you're obviously going to build it with what you have this year, right? And you can't get caught up to where every year you're flushing your whole system, because next year, well, I graduated a D3 quarterback, and this year it's my backup running back is now going to be there because that's what we're going to have to do. Oh, so let's get rid of the whole system. We can't carry any of those pass plays. We need to move on to a bunch of wildcat stuff, right? So, or whatever your scenario is. You had a big O-line, now you don't. You can find yourself building around a player or a graduating class or whatever, and your system works really, really well for them. And then one of two things I see happening is we try to force next year's crew into that, which doesn't work, or cut all ties. Let's go with the new thing, right? We go from the JDFB 4-2-5 to the Daniel Chamberlain 3-3 stack. Well, there's no reason to do that, right? You've got to have a system in place. Like you said, and we talked a minute ago, it's got to have enough in it that I can make those evolutions. I can adapt to, and that'd be the last piece, but I can make it work from year to year. Because, I mean, let's be honest, we don't ever know really what's going to walk in the door. In fact, we don't know that a stud sophomore is going to be on our team next year. Like, at this point, they're switching schools every year. So your system better be able to handle what the new era of football looks like, which is essentially a reset every 365 days.
I want to talk about, absolutely, like, the most important thing in the system is that you like the system and believe in the system and learn the system and know the system. And I want to get into that in a second, but I want to go back to episode 0 real quick. I don't know this for sure, but you mentioned D3 quarterback and it popped up. My buddy texted, he went to Christopher Newport and said that the Christopher Newport Division III quarterback has signed with Penn State. And it made me think, what we used to talk about on this podcast years ago was how bad, not that many years ago, like 2, how bad college recruiting was and how garbage all the stars and rivals and all that stuff was.
Still 100%.
And still absolute garbage. But one of the benefits of the transfer portal is that you can suck as a Power 5, Power 4 conference recruiter and let somebody else go identify these good players at a lower level, whether it's Group of 5 or whatever non-power conferences, whether it's D2, whether it's D3, whether it's FCS, NAIA, whatever. You can let somebody else go through the process of identifying how much we see this, like the Ole Miss quarterback,
It's happening a lot right now.
all the time, because you suck at identifying actual good football players, or you're held accountable by the people with the money to go get the 5 stars. But luckily somebody else can do it, and now you can just go throw money at them and bring them to you for their junior year or whatever it is.
Right.
Interesting. It's just another side effect. Great for the kids who these
Are getting
garbage
overlooked, right.
recruiters couldn't figure it out. Great for them. Huge benefit for them. You know, wish that they could figure it out to begin with, but even better reason to go win football games and not worry about how your kid gets recruited. Don't worry about whether he's a defensive end and you want to play him at safety because that's his college position. Don't worry about it. Let them figure it out. He'll get $1 million down the road if that's the correct thing. So don't worry about it. Just go win high school games.
For sure.
Anyway, that's my aside for today. So there's a couple things with systems. Talk about you need to find a system and stick to it, because that's how you learn it. That's how you learn the flaws in it. That's how you learn the mistakes, and that's how you learn to adapt and adjust. And we talk about good adjustments are not made during the game. Good adjustments are adjustments that have already been figured out ahead of time. Good adjustments you did it the game before, you did it the season before. Those adjustments, by the way, all go into your system. So if I made an adjustment to stop a wing T team that was beating me with a weak side belly play over and over and over again, obviously that doesn't become a part of my game plan for the next 3 years, but that goes into the cloud. And when I need it from the system in a game plan against a wing T that runs weak side belly, then I go and I pull it down and I've got it ready. Or somebody surprises me with it, I've got it in the back of my mind. It's in the system. I can do it. I can make that adjustment. It's been done. The key to a good system, though, is that you, as the head coach, as the coordinator, as the person making the decision, truly believe in that system and plan to run it. Every good system can adapt. We've talked about systems that initially, Daniel and I talked before the show about systems that maybe in their first iteration couldn't be run everywhere, but coaches figured out how to adapt it so that, hey, this year I want to be an air raid, but this year I don't have anybody who can throw the ball at all. You can adapt and still keep your air raid principles. That's been done. Any system can be adapted, sometimes by pulling pieces from other systems, but keeping your core philosophy. All of that stuff is fine. So the things that I want, find something that the core of it you can believe in. So if that is, the core of JDFB, and a lot of our coaches are 425 coaches because it is very simple to install initially. It works great at stopping the bleeding. First of all, it works fantastic for youth, middle school. It's just unbeatable. Not unbeatable in that it stops everything, but unbeatable in that you don't need a lot of coaches. You don't need a lot of great athletes. You can install it, you can run it, you can have success. It also works great for teams that are just trying to stop the bleeding. You're 0-10, you're 1-9, and you just need to, because a lot of that is you're doing things that are slowing your kids down. Very rarely do I run into 0-10 programs who are actually physically, talent-wise, worse than everybody on the schedule at such a level that they cannot achieve more than some other teams. We just need to stop the bleeding, and the 425 does a great job of that. So if you like the things that we talk about on Football Coaching Podcast, if you like the Coach Simple philosophy, if ASCA, Alignment Stance Key Read Assignment, speaks to you, if the umbrella system speaks to you, the 425 is a great place to start. And the place to start is a base over or G front, cover 3, cover 1, very, very simple. And it's a great system starter. If you believe in that, that is a great place to start your system. If you look at that and you go, that can never work, you're wrong, but that's okay. You don't believe it. So either I have to convince you or somebody else has to convince you to believe it, or don't run it. Like there's no in between. Don't just go, well, all right, I'll do it. And I'll just give you an example, going back to cover 1, becoming a major part of the 425 defense, becoming our base coverage. I didn't believe in cover 1. What I believed in was Bill Mountjoy.
Yeah.
And I believed enough in Bill Mountjoy to commit to it for a try. And that was enough. And I found out, okay, this works. Before that, I didn't, if you had asked me in 2009, before I went to Ellsworth, before I started working with Ricky Kuhn, before we installed the 4-2-5 defense there, I would have told you the only defense that can truly work is the 4-3 defense. The Miami, the way Jimmy Johnson taught it, the way Tommy Tuberville taught it, the Miami 4-3 defense. I would have told you that's the only one that can work because it's the only one that I knew, and anything else that I had tried hadn't worked. I'd been in a 4-4. I'd been in a 3-3. I did it wrong. It didn't work. I would have told you nothing else can work. I learned from Ricky the 4-2-5. I learned that it could work. We were top 25 defense. Then I went into studying more and more of TCU, and I learned all of that. And I trusted Ricky. I trusted, the things that the success that Gary Patterson had, and that got me into the 4-2-5 defense. A few years later, I still ran the 4-3 for a couple of years after that. Okay, that got me into it a few years later. So I had to have that belief, otherwise it would not work. You can't just snap your fingers and make something work. If you don't believe in something, it won't work. Either somebody has to convince you why what you believe is incorrect about that defense, or you do need to make a change and find something that you believe in. Your system has to be something that you believe in. Now, where the mistake is made is choosing a system that you believe is right for these kids right now. That cannot be your system. That system will not last because those kids won't be there. Now, sometimes it starts that way and you go, oh my God, I love this thing, and you stick with it. But if that's your plan right now and you say, hey, but I'm going to run it this year, but next year we're going to do something completely different, that won't work. Okay. Now you may come into JDFB and you may say, right now, I got a bunch of kids that don't have a lot of experience. I got an inexperienced coaching staff. It's our first year. We got to stop the bleeding. We're going to be 4-2-5, but I would like us to evolve into a multi-front or into the 3-4. We got a great group of freshmen coming up. I think I'm going to be able to get some new coaches coming in or adapt these coaches, and I'm going to evolve, but my system is going to be ASCA, levers, umbrella, Coach Simple. That's my system. That's what I'm going to stick to. That's the thing that I believe in. Then that can work. That's because now that's becoming the core of your system. The biggest mistake is thinking that your system has to be your players change for your players every single year, and you're running it because it fits my players, because somebody told me this, somebody told me that, some idiot told you that you don't have enough linemen, and so you have to run an odd front. That's not true. That's fundamentally wrong in the way that we run our systems, is that we don't need more linemen to run the 40 front than we need the 30 front. The 30 front, I have to have 3. And 40, I can do it with 1. Like, it's just different ways of looking at it. But so that's the first thing. And then I got a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll breathe.
I love the passion, by the way. And you have to believe. You have to have a belief, just like we have a belief in a system, right? You've got to have that in whatever you're doing. I had a rather odd interaction the other night with a coach right after we posted the 4-2-5 clinic stuff. By the way, we didn't talk about that again. We're going to go to Boston and we're going to install the 4-2-5.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to do a clinic. Go to joedanielfootball.com/425 Boston. You can sign up today. Early bird pricing ends February 15th. So as this comes out, you're probably right about that 2-week mark before early bird. Before the pricing jumps up. If you're looking for a room, there is a link after you sign up to get the room for the group rate. It, however, will no longer be available after February 11th. So if you last minute the early bird, you're losing out on a good price on a room. Anyway, bringing some dudes with us, Con Chase, Brady Bradbury, and then, of course, Joe and I will be speaking some too. But come to Boston, March 13 to 14. However,
please come to Boston to David Allen Co. song, or did somebody else do that first?
I don't know. Oh, no, that's been done so many times.
I
love every version.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I didn't know if that was officially initially David Allen Co. That's where I knew it from.
You might chat GPT that while I'm talking, because that's a good question. Who did it first? Maybe like George Jones or something. We never know. They did.
I think it was George Jones.
They're all remade.
Please come to Boston for the springtime.
That's right. Yes, maybe that should be our. I'm making it happen. Anyway, but I had a really good conversation. Not a really good conversation. It was actually very odd, and it was somebody trying to get me with a gotcha moment. But it was what is the difference in a 4-2-5 and a 4-3? And I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to tell you about belief. And I said, well, it's a bunch of coaches at a coaches social. In fact, we were in like a motel room, like 12 people deep, just a couple beers in, conversing about systems. And I said, at its core, it's realistically your outside backer plays D gap and your defensive end plays C gap when you have an attached tight end. And that's really it. Oh, so you're going to tell me if I outside loop my 50 or my 90 tech or whatever backer and pinch my defensive end, I went from a 4-3 to a 4-2-5. And
Sure.
okay. Yeah, if that's how you want to look at it.
Sure.
And I do that a lot. Yes. Yeah, you're right, man. And no, it's how you align to so many other things. But at its core, this is why I hate the number system. Like, are you an even front or are you an odd front? And guess what? When you're an odd front, you're blitzing to an even front. Like every time you're blitzing to an over or an under, regardless of what else you're doing. So I go back to belief. He believed in the 4-3.
Sure.
So much so that he wanted to get me with a gotcha at a coach's social because we put out a 4-2-5 clinic advertisement because he doesn't believe the 4-2-5 is a thing, I guess. I don't really know what his point was. It spiraled out of control. It was very strange. My belief is that they're all the same. You're not running anything different. So you talked, Joe, about I need to install something that works with these kids. It works. It works. If you're a 4-2-5 system and you end up with 3 stud linemen and a whole bunch of linebacker bodies, shift everybody over half man, stand your defensive end up, and you're in a 3-4, my friend. And you've not done anything catastrophic to your system. It's just levers. Going to the offensive side, I love this part of the offense. There are gap scheme believers and there are zone scheme believers. And then there's us in the middle who are like, I see where you're both right. And I see where you both can't make everything work. I love listening to Nick Caduti out of Texas and NFL player for years. I love listening to him talk about outside zone because it makes me believe in outside zone. And that's what you want in a teacher. That's what you want in a coach that you're going to go to work for. You're going to have some tutelage under. When they believe so violently that their system is I can make this work, it gives you some belief,
Sure.
right? I also love the Joe Daniel football system. Pistol power offense is what, I mean, truly in my heart, that's what I believe in. I've seen the Bixby stuff. I've seen the Gun T stuff. I love them too. They're all the same thing. We're all just gap schemers, right? So you kind of you have to fall into that, even if it's offensive. Are you going to be I believe in zone and reading some people and double teams and getting to second level and RPOs, or do you believe in gap scheme and we're going to make a crease and we're going to hit the crease and we're going to get timing right and we're going to RPO off the backside of it? Like, what your belief is what makes that system work. So make sure it's a system you can stick with. I think trying to switch from gap to zone every year. Let's just jump at the adapting your system every season. How do we do that without doing what I just said? I'm zone this year. I'm gap this year. I'm zone this year. How do we stick to those core fundamentals, those pillars, but the system fits the kids that walk in the door this year?
I do both.
Yes.
I mean, my belief comes from Bill Mountjoy. Comes from 15 years of running it too. And a lot of teams that have run it and had success. And not all of them run both, or youth teams especially. They run gap scheme primarily. Some of them run zone scheme, but even when high school coaches are first installing the system, I'll often encourage them to focus on one or the other. The big thing is the thing that I like about our system, and it happens every year, is that we're not gap scheme or zone scheme. We're not power. I know it's called pistol power offense system, and I regret that every day, but it's been 11 years since I named it. Maybe more. Maybe more. May have been 15 or something like that. I'd have to look and see when. I want to say it's been
believed in the pistol and the power at that point.
Yeah. And now I don't care about lining up in pistol, and power is my favorite play, but not one of my favorite plays. I love outside zone, and we've actually been better in inside zone. But I like all of them. They're all in the system. So for us, for me, the belief in the system on the offensive side, specifically in the run game. In the passing game, it's mirrored concepts can always create an open receiver. In the run game, it is the way that all of these work together. And so in our run game, the core belief is basically this. We run inside zone, outside zone. We run power and counter. and we run truck toss. We use only 2 blocking schemes. Okay, there's the zone scheme and the gap scheme. They involve changing one player or changing an approach angle or something like that, but the zone count system never changes. The gap rules, combos never change. Doesn't matter if it's power or counter, doesn't matter if it's right or left, doesn't matter if it's inside zone or outside zone. And what I believe for all of those is that they all set each other up. So by using the H-back to set up to run power to the side of the H-back, it sets up counter away from the H-back. Or you could set it up the opposite way. So I'll get into that in a minute. I believe that inside zone, so basically what my core belief is, we need inside run, an outside run, an off tackle run, and a counter. Our inside run is inside zone. Our outside run is truck toss. Our counter play is counter. Our off tackle, we needed 2. One, for when teams want to crash down and spill the power, that opens up outside zone. An outside zone is better against, especially the 3-3. Power is not great against the 3-3. So outside zone gives us a great play against the 3-3. And then strong side, counter is still great, but and then the outside zone, if they want to widen, we can kick them out and run power. And I prefer to dig out power and run it. But so all of those plays have a need, but essentially what we need is an inside run, an outside run, an off tackle, and a counter. We need to play action off of whatever the best is. And then my other belief is that we'll figure out what the best is based on what our kids do really well. I know that some places don't have scrimmages and stuff. We have 2 scrimmages. We have, a couple of weeks of practice, 2 scrimmages. We'll get a good idea going into week 1 what we're doing really well. We still keep them all in the playbook for the most part. Every once in a while, we're so bad at one that it really just disappeared. The last couple of years, I love stretch. We could not make stretch work. Now, it was still in the playbook. The blocking scheme was still there because it's a part of our single wing package, corridor single wing package. But and it's part of our truck toss, the way that we block it. So we still had to know how to do it. But all of that stuff, to me, that is a system with no holes in it. Now, other people might look at it and want this and want that, want to change this or change that. And I firmly believe that if you commit to those 5 plays, 2 blocking schemes, you'll have something. You'll be able to do something. And then we can dress it up. But I also come from a belief that the offensive line, everything else will take care of itself. Focus on the offensive line. Now, passing wise, I have to know what my quarterback can do. But I know if my offensive line can't block, can't pass protect very well, I know that it doesn't matter that my quarterback can throw, a dig route, because I'm not going to have time for that to develop.
Right.
I'm going to be throwing hitches. So the system, whether it starts with gap or zone, or whether you start with both, or whether you start with 5 passing concepts, five drop back passing concepts, 2 quick games, or whether you build your passing around an air raid system, or whether you build your passing around sprint out, it really doesn't matter. The key is the adaptability. There's a book, I wrote it down. There's a book called The Goal. I don't know how many people will read this. It's an older book. I want to say it's 1984-ish. I read it, might be in the 90s. I read it a long time ago, but it's even older than that. It's called The Goal. It's by Eli, I think Goldratt. Eli Goldratt.
Imagine that. That's a good name for a guy writing a book named The Goal.
The Goal, yeah. So it's a good book because it's a good audio book because it's almost like a story. It's a really good audio book. I would recommend, if you were going to read it, to do it as an audio book. And it's about business, as many of the books that I read are, but it applies directly to football, as many of the books that I read and books about business and leadership and everything else do. And essentially, it is the idea of, there's a problem. It comes down to this. There's a problem in the factory. How do we fix the problem in the factory? Well, we find the bottleneck. And when we find the bottleneck, that's where there's always going to be a bottleneck in your system. Unless you just outclass everybody, there will always be a bottleneck in the system. And what coaches worry about with a system, this goes back to actually part 2. What coaches worry about with the system is, I want to create, I want to build, I want to make something. I don't want to be, put into a glass case, and I can't make my own system, and I'm just doing, like, it's that old argument of like system quarterbacks and stuff, and systems take away your creativity. It's a stupid argument. It's a dead argument. It's long since dead. So stop it. A system is going to evolve, and your system has to evolve. because every year you will have the bottleneck. We talked about air raid teams that find out they don't have a quarterback. Well, the system had to evolve. You had to figure out how to do something that your kid could handle. And so and different ones evolved in different ways. You look at the whole How Mummy tree, it doesn't all look the same. They don't all still do the same. They all evolved. They all evolved over time. I don't do what Bill Mountjoy did. Bill Mountjoy didn't do it exactly like Joe Gibbs, right? This stuff evolved. It changes over time. And your system, the beginning of your system, the core of your system is probably boring. And the evolution of the system should be boring. It should just be fixing problems as they come up rather than, and you can look, there's no problem with seeing something cool on X or whatever, or seeing something cool on a game on Saturday and being like, hey, we can use that formation, use that motion, and use this blocking scheme we already have. We can run that blitz in our system if we do this and that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, again, it's another thing it's an adjustment that goes into the system that's in the game plan this week. And if it turns out to be really good, maybe it becomes more. But the idea in that book, and it's a really good book. Again, listen to it. Don't read it. Listen to it. Of fixing the problems and how that evolves and how little fixes start to stack and fix everything. And so the other thing is with your system, the idea of jumping from system to system based on who your kids are this year, or based on this didn't work last year, so I'm going to jump to this system. I talked about another book called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, the Start With Why guy. Football coaching is an infinite game. And the idea that you are going to find a system that is the solution to everything is wrong. In the way that you install it today. Here's the package, go install this, things are done. I remember like years ago, you couldn't get clinics the way that we do it, right? It didn't exist where you had Monday night Chalk Talk Q&A calls and where somebody's posting a new film room every week. We posted goal line defense this week for the January film room for JDFB. And we've got a chalkboard where the community can ask questions and talk, and we can come up with ideas and share things and do different things. And we can bring all these in and we can talk about it on podcasts. That didn't used to exist. You bought the package and you took it home in a big binder and maybe some DVDs, and everything had to be in there, and it was sold to you as the solution. Go run this. I remember there was a double wing playbook that would be handed to youth coaches, and it was ginormous, way too much, very detailed, good, but just too much. And it was handed with, here's the system. And it's like, that's never going to be. Double wing is fantastic at its base. 5 plays, right? Inside run, outside run, off tackle run, play action, counter, play action. Okay, fantastic, great. It will evolve, right? It will evolve over time. You look at the idea of coaching and you think that you're going to find a system that is going to take this team to a championship, and that will be it. All our problems are solved. Everything is great. And I'm going to just coast on this for the next 30 years, get my statue built, fistful of rings, and go on. And you can look as far as Tomlin and Harbaugh, and you can see that that is not happening. You can look at Tom Landry. You can go back and you can look at, you can look forever and ever and ever. You can look at Bill Belichick. There is never a point in time where we get to just be like, got it, figured it out, did it. Don't have to change anything. Don't have to do anything. Done. Figured out football. It's not going to happen. It's always going to be evolving. And there's no system, jumping to another system is not going to change that. So you must learn to adapt your system to the players that you have every year. You are the constant.
I was thinking about while you were talking there, I was kind of thinking about like what I consider my system. And I don't think it has to be as nailed down as like gap versus zone. Like you said, Joe, you run both. You carry both. You can teach both. You can teach a coach to teach both. You're an O-line guy, and I feel like that's how we all think, is like we can make anything work. And if we make it work up here, Billy Bob out on the outside is going to catch a pass sometime, right? Like everything else will be fine. I think that's why I fell in love with the idea of tags so much, is because it allows me to carry a system across plays. There's no play that defines our system. It doesn't matter if you're talking mirrored routes or Y cross and mesh. If you're talking zone read, GT read, what it doesn't matter, right? You get these certain tags and they become tools for your system, whatever your playbook is that year. I think that's why I love them so much, is that it is a force multiplier that never goes away, right? We talk about the read play. People are running a lot of bash right now, a lot of counter bash. Why not run zone bash? Why not run, whatever, or old school inside zone read or outside zone read? I can read GT counter or GH counter or whatever, right? So I think that's why I fell in love with the tag system so much, is because I can just continue using it. Maybe this year my quarterback can't read. We've had guys like that the pressure in their face, the right now, that need to pull or give, it's too much. But they can do the RPO stuff out there. Well, I can RPO, gap scheme, inside zone, outside zone. It doesn't matter. So I think that's why I really fell in love with the tags. Is it allows the system to reign supreme. The playbook, I can make my kids comfortable. I always have tools available to pull out of the system to go to the playbook that year or the game plan that week and say, hey, this is how we're going to do this. And we're going to make things right with this tool. And it doesn't matter what base thing you're trying to do up front. We're just going to make it right. So I think that's really what, after learning systems from you for 2 or 3 years, and then, getting into all the other systems in football right now, which, what a time to be alive. You can get into anybody's stuff. You can go get into it and be like, I live in this system now. And that's wonderful.
Good and bad. Yeah.
And then you can make it your own. Just don't do it every year. Don't buy Joe's this year, Kenny's next year, Tyler Snyder's the one after that, the end zone the year after that. Don't do that. Get one, get comfortable, get and make it right. Don't let it make you right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, like, let's say that you join my system and you go, this is, I like this, whatever. There's nothing wrong with then, after you get one part down. We ran Mercer's Wing T Jet Sweep series 2 years ago. Now, it didn't fit the system necessarily. I was told we were going to run it, but I liked it. And we made it work. And it was, we won a playoff game for the first time in school history. So I can't sit there and go, this was a failure. It was shoehorned into the system for sure, for a number of reasons. And it turned out there were times when we really needed it. It made some big plays for us. But, I'll say that from an offensive line standpoint, I didn't teach my players new words. Like, it was, here's the set of rules for this, and we ran it. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, we were in our 4th year of running the pistol power offense system at that school. I felt comfortable in teaching all 3. And it's a gap scheme, but I mean, we took out truck toss because we used that play as a perimeter play, and then we used bubble screens stuff as our outside. And so you can adapt a system quite a bit over time. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You talked about, GH counter, whatever. When I talk about it when we bring in our film for game film analysis, I use that film to create our film rooms and all that sort of stuff later. And I have a girl that is in the Philippines, and she was trained by Huddle on how to tag down and distance, but I trained her on how to tag power, counter, all that sort of stuff using our numbering system. Yeah. Well, to her, and to me, this is my mindset, but to her, a off-tackle gap scheme is an off-tackle gap scheme. They're all called, if they're to the right, they're all called 4. 24, 14. 24 is the back, 14 is the quarterback, 34 would be like a H-back or something like that, a wing back. And then she will just simply tag it based on who blocks that gap scheme. So if it's just regular power, it's 24. If it's counter if it's our GH counter, then it's just counter. If it is GT counter, it's counter GT. If it's buck sweep, it's 24 buck. Okay. All of those are the same play family for. I had a coach who was on our forum, one of our new coaches on our forum, and asked a question on the chalkboard about how many offensive plays people have. He said we had 8 run schemes. And I was like, well, I only know 7. So it's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's in how you do that. And so I talk about it a lot when we talk about it a lot with our scout team and how I can run anything that anybody throws at us. That expands your system. I didn't need to change the system. I can go look at Kenny's stuff and probably steal something and stick it into the system. But I'm not changing. I'm not changing the system. I've taken things from Rick Stewart. I've taken, like I said, we took from Mercer. We've taken from all sorts of places, and we can put it. That's one of the things about getting to really truly know your system. Like the defense, 4-2-5 defense. People go, well, do you have anything on bear? I'm like, yeah, you just line up bear front. Just line up 3-0-3, run it. What's our double wing defense? It's the same in every front. What's our goal line defense? The same in every front. Doesn't matter. That's the part of the system is how we handle that.
Right. Situational.
Because it's all still force, spill, alley, just adjusting alignments, adjusting some personnel, that kind of stuff. It's all in the more by doing the same systems for 15, 20 years. That's why I think my system has almost no limits at this point, to whereas, like you said, if you jump from place to place to place every year, your system has massive limits in place, massive limits, because you can't learn how to adjust it and how to make changes and do all that stuff by changing every year.
It's no different than having a good system, being the first year coach somewhere, and your kids don't understand.
Or your coaches. Yeah.
They don't know your pillars. They don't know what your answers are. There's nothing better than being a second or third year and then the kids are like, hey, coach, remember last year we did this thing? I think it works here, because they see it. They understand how the system works. If you change it on them every year, like, you're essentially a first year coach every year, and there's no reason to do that.
We have our system for installing inside zone, outside zone combos. And I always talk about, we have man blocking is not a thing. Man blocking should not be a thing, but we have our zone count system, 0, 1, 2, 3. And now our middle school kids might just count 0, 1, 2, 3 all year. And when we get to it because they're learning. But like on the varsity level, if I've got a new group of varsity linemen, or if I'm in a new place, or if I'm helping a new coach install the pistol power offense system, I talk about the first week. Don't talk about covered, uncovered. Don't talk about up, down, or anything like that. Don't talk about climbing the linebackers. Don't talk about combos at all. Just get them to count 0, 1, 2, 3, and the center block's the 0, and the guard block's the 1, and the tackle block's the 2, and backside is the same thing. And eventually they go, coach, I couldn't get to him because he went that way, but I could go to him, and then we could push off to that guy. And I'm like, hey, that sounds cool. Let's call that covered, uncovered, or we use up and down now.
That's a combo.
And you let them kind of develop into that. But like you said, when I tried to do that in the second or third year, I remember doing it the second or third year at Amelia, and a very smart, very good center. And I'm trying to, we had a couple new linemen, and I'm trying to don't combo, just count. And he's like, but coach, we could just make a bear call and do this, and we could block it. And I'm like, fine, teach him what a bear call is.
Right.
And then the system is just on its own. I never have to teach it. They go, look, I know he said that, but don't listen to that. Go do this. And now there's ownership of it.
I love it. All right, man. I think we checked all the boxes today. We're hitting that hour mark. Get a system, guys. And there's so many available. Look, this is the podcast is here to advertise for Joe Daniel Football. Go to joedanielfootball.com. Get into the system. If you just have to have one that you think's more popular or more relevant in your area, or no one's heard of this one in my area, so I want to be different, do that. I want you to be successful because of something you heard off the podcast. So go do that. Go run the gun tee. Go buy Tyler stuff online. It's everywhere. Go talk to Cameron Palmer. It doesn't matter. Go find a system, climb in it, stay in it, evolve it to what you are. I know all those guys. I don't run anyone's stuff outright. My system is a crazy combination of all those things. But it's my system, and that's how yours will be too. So go get some stuff. Take what you like from it
first. Like you said, you started with something.
Yes, I started with something. I learned the pistol power offense. I learned what the heck zone blocking is, what is covered, uncovered, what is the count system, and then I built on it. And how do I keep that? And how do I maintain it? Yes, start somewhere, build on it. If this episode has sparked an idea or reinforced something you already believe, see, pun intended, pass it on. You never know who's listening right when they need to hear it. The systems right now, everyone's changing. This is the time of year where everyone's like, I'm going to clinics. AFCA was back in, which I know is a lot more collegiate stuff, but glaziers are every day now. It feels like there's glazier online, so it is every day. Right now, someone watched Indiana win the national championship, and they're trying to find his system. They're trying to, I'm going to go get that playbook, not a system. They're trying to go get his playbook. That's fine if you want to go see what they did to be successful, but how does it pair to your system? Anyway, pass it on. Today, we talked about football coaching systems. What is a system? How to build one you can stick with, and then adapting your system each season to what's in the room with you. Last week, we talked about defensive play caller system. Great way. Same hierarchy, by the way. So, or hierarchy. I hate that word.
Top of the hierarchy, bottom of the hierarchy.
Yep. That's right. Big, littler, smaller, the funnel system. Next week, we're going to be talking about being a teacher on the football field, which is going to be super good. Tune in next week to talk with our guest, or as we talk with our guest. You can't, but we can. If you have any questions, email them to me. I'll ask. Let's jump into our level up here, Joe. You put question marks here. So what is your level up?
I had to think because I don't have any, like, there wasn't some like significant.
Do you want me to? I can go while you think.
No, I can handle this. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna use a video game cop out. I don't think I talked about it last time. I finished Final Fantasy VII after 30 years.
Let's go.
I never played it.
The greatest of all.
Yeah,
games.
I really didn't pick it up. Even when I really, I dabbled with it here and there, but I'd never gotten into it. It was one of the first games that I got when I got a Switch, which was not long after launch, so 2017, 2018. It was one of the first games that I got, and I got into it, and I played for a while, and then I got turned around and, bounced off of it. And I got back into it maybe 2020 probably, and played for a while, and then, I bounce off and go to something else. I do this a lot. And so I was like, but I always wanted to come back to it. And I actually opened up the save file. It was from 2021. And I was like, I know that I'm like not far from the end. Of course, I asked ChatGPT. I was like, here's where I'm at. Here's a picture of what I got and all this sort of stuff. And of course, ChatGPT is like, you're 2 hours away from the end. I was not, but and luckily with the Switch, I'll admit that I did cheese it just a little bit. Things like the Switch doesn't have like save states, but it has like, there's one thing where you get your limit break like constantly. Like,
yeah.
So if I got hung up, I would just kind of like
the monies and you can do any of them, right?
Yeah. And then there's three. It's just the limit break. You can turn off
battle,
the random encounters. And so when I realized I needed something and I didn't have it yet, and I was too far in and I didn't feel like battling my way all the way back out, I just like turn off random encounter, run back out, put it on 3. And the other thing, it's got 3 things that you can do. You can turn off random encounters. You can do the limit break. I didn't use that very much, but then you could 3x speed. So especially if anybody's played Final Fantasy VII, the length of time that the summon spells take is forever. So being able to just be like,
gorgeous, man.
And roll through oh, absolutely. And by the way, this was not Final Fantasy. This was not the remake. This was not the PS5 stuff. This was straight up original. And I will say this, I want to go back. I probably never will because it's so long, but the last part of it, and I enjoyed some stuff. I remember some of the main stuff. Like I remember the big story stuff, but like the last couple of hours, I really was like, I get it. I get why this is like one of the greatest of all time, even beyond the production for 1997 being just absolutely ridiculous. The story, like I kind of, you get into the weeds of the story, and it's like when I was playing it before, getting into the weeds of the story, trying to figure out what all this stuff was. And because there's like Shinra and Genova and Avalanche and like all these things, and like I'm like, I don't know how all these things come together, and getting a little confused with it. But then at the end, like the story is just, it's really good. Still a little confusing, but it's really good. So big recommend. Finished that, fell into like a just total, like could not find anything, bounced off of like 8 games since then. And then last weekend I got back into Hogwarts Legacy, and I am deep into Hogwarts Legacy now. Like if we lose power, if we lose power, I'm gonna have to use all the juice in the power brick to keep Steam Deck running, and my family is just gonna have to figure it out because
That's all right. We got fire. You're
Yeah.
good.
we got fire. Will it be warm? I'm deep into Hogwarts Legacy right now.
I have to say, can you imagine you're however old you were when Final Fantasy VII is on PS1 and you pick up a memory card from 5 years ago? That some gun wouldn't work. Like, how great is life now that you can play a game from 2021, a save point, not the game. The game would have worked.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe the PS1 wouldn't have worked anymore, but
PS1 probably wouldn't
freaking
work.
save file from that, it would have been like corrupt. So
Well, I pulled so I finished that, and I'm just closing all these loops, and I've talked about a few of them. I have all these games that I was on for a while. I tend to bounce off of things about 80% in, and then I want to finish them, and it eats at me. Like, I need to finish this thing. So part of this isn't just the games; it's about like going back and finishing things. I've done it with books too. I played Final Fantasy X around the same time, around 2020, 2021,
right.
all the way up to Sin, the battle towards the end, and got beat a bunch of times and was like, all right, I got to go back and like level up some more and come back, and then kind of bounced off there. And then they took it off Game Pass. And now Game Pass is like $30 a month, and I'm just out. And it's not on there anymore either. They're starting to add. They added one, now they've added two, I think. So they're kind of putting some Final Fantasies back on. But I finally was like, it was on sale at the beginning of January, and I went ahead and paid $20 to get 10 and 10 2 because I have to have the digital Xbox version. I couldn't just go get a used PS4 version or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And or a Steam sale. And I've got that back. I'm going to go back in and finish that, but I'm sucked into Hogwarts Legacy right now.
I will
And
say
that save
Final
file was
Fantasy
also
VII,
5 years old, so it's cool.
Yeah.
They're all just sitting
core memories out of Final Fantasy VII. Man. Like, I think that was most people my generation. That was like our first video game love, was watching Aerith get stabbed, die, and you're like, no, her and Cloud are supposed to be together forever. What is this? And you got it, so yeah. Plot twist, man.
Yeah.
What a rundown memory lane. I love it. My level up is we put on a pre-425 clinic. By we, I mean we've got some guys in the area that are buddies of mine, Brady Bradbury being one of them, Antonio Graham over at Union, the head coach there at Union, and Billy Sexton and the staff from Bristow, who I've been coaching with for 2 years now. But we just, man, had I'm going to call it a symposium, a 425 symposium. And it was so cool to get back in. And I didn't know that AG was Antonio Graham. Everybody calls him AG. I didn't realize he was a TCU 425 tree. Like, he's Gary Patterson coaching tree as well. So, but it was so neat to me. Okay, so guys, when we're on the podcast, I say this a lot. There's like 100-mile radius around my house where a lot of coaches scoff at the idea of a podcast. Like, how dare you have the audacity to speak online about football? Who the hell are you to
It's
talk
a much wider
football?
radius than 100, yeah.
Yeah. But if I get outside of that, like, people pay me money to consult them, to teach them football. So it's weird. Going back to that gotcha moment in a motel room at a coach's social. Like, it's just what it is, right? And we deal with it. Online football doesn't work here, blah, blah, blah. It's something I face all the time. Kenny sees it. I'm sure you see it, Joe. Like, if you're online and have any impact whatsoever socially with football, someone out there hates you because, and I think a lot of it's jealousy, but it's neither here nor there. Walking into this symposium, as I'm going to call it, and watching Coach Bradbury get on the board and talk about the base, Joe Daniel football, 425, and he just won a state championship this year running it. And I'm like, how cool. And it was so neat. Just the vocabulary is the same, terminology is the same, like the key reads. He does a couple things different.
Sure. He's evolved.
Because he's evolved his system. But the system's there, and I see it. The umbrella run fits, and how he's coaching key reads. Ball up, ball down. He said, and he'll say this in Boston. He's coming to Boston with it. He's going to say this exact line, I'm sure. Ball up, ball down was revolutionary for my coaching. It took years, or added years back onto my life, because I don't have to teach an outside backer to read the first uncovered lineman or whatever. He was like, I played this position from the lowest level to the highest level, and that read screwed me up so many times, because he's a 2A football coach. In Oklahoma, I think he's technically third from the smallest 11-man classification. And he's like, every block looks like a down block. They pass set, and they lunge at the 3 tech and try to pick him up. Like, you can't read that guy. But anyway, so just listening to him, it was a breath of fresh air to listen to him come stand up and go, I just won the state championship. I have a gold ball. I have a ring because I ran this very, very simple base. There's not even like, he's not even mixing. He's not even multi-front. Like he even does his goal line different than what you do. And it was like to maintain the simplicity of 4 down linemen. And I was just like, that is so cool. And then to watch AG stand up and using a lot of the same vernacular, talk about his way more advanced package, his much more evolved package for the 6A1 level and what he's doing with the 4.25 when he's got to stop the Bixbys and the Owasos and the Broken Arrows of the world. And but still, a lot of the things are staying the same. You can see where the need for a little more evolution exists.
Sure.
I 100% can. And when coaches say, well, that simple stuff doesn't work here, it will get you started.
More often than not, it will. Exactly.
You can take over a 6A1 team. There's one in Oklahoma that's notoriously bad. And in fact, everybody on the west side of the state, unfortunately, we know that football runs to the east. And those coaches, and I'm not speaking bad on those coaches, it's just the kids, the parents move to the east to get their kids to these teams. So, but there's some of them I 100% guarantee you could go in and install the JDFB 4.25 and evolve where needed, and you would be successful as you can be at that level. So
yeah, the idea
you're going to reach your ceiling whatever you want to do to install it. So
Coach Bradbury came in 2022 when he took over that program. I believe they were 2-8.
Yeah, they had some down years.
The year before, and then he won the district title that year, and then went 10-0 the next year with base. I think he was doing some 3-3 stuff, but 4.25. I think
they tried to be 3-3, and he
3-3, and he went
3-3 in quarters, and it was what he kind of talked about last night. And he was like, "We fell on our face," and I said, "Scrap it all. We're getting a system, and we're going to figure this out." So yeah,
and then we went. I want to say 7-4, won a district title in his first year after going 2-8. Then went 11-1, second round of the playoffs, and then the state title without a lot of. Not just didn't squeak by with it.
No, put people out. It was a good one. Anyway, that's my level up, is just getting back to the big getting back to Coach Simple Play Fast win this year for the podcast. And I'm watching it happen right in front of my eyes too. Just getting with these guys and coaches. That's another piece. It's just the coach. We brought a guy in to install it, and listening to him say, I know what level I play ball, and it's a larger Oklahoma school. And I know what we're going to face this year, and this still solves all of my problems. Where my guys don't know who's force, now they know who's force. They don't know who's spill, now they know who's spill. It's going to take a lot of the BS away. So I love it. Great level up for me last night. One last time, Joe, let's pay the bills.
Yeah, go check out. I want to focus on the 4.25 clinic if you've made it this far, especially if you're in the Northeast. But go check out if you're talking about defensive system, what you need to know to build the ultimate defensive football coaching system, blueprint for simplifying your defense. I talk about the things that need to be in your system. There's certain things that must be in the system that make your system. There are certain mistakes that you must avoid when you're installing the systems. There's 5 mistakes that you've got to avoid when you're installing that system, that even if you've got a good one, if you make these mistakes, it killed the whole thing. So you want to get all that against a free download. It's about, it's a 20-minute, 30-minute read tops. It's not a massive manual. So it's definitely one you should check out. Go to footballdefense.com and download the complete guide to building your ultimate defensive football coaching system today, footballdefense.com. And then again, it's Daniel, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, joedanielfootball.com/425 Boston, March 13th, 14th. Go ahead and get signed up. Early bird price is going away soon. There are hotels available after you sign up. There's a hotel rate, special bulk rate hotel available after you sign up. Those
rooms are limited and run out sooner. So
those rooms are limited and going to run out on February 11th. So it's going to run out before the early bird, or may run out well before that. So we're already getting a number of signups. So really excited about it. We're going to go on. You're going to hear some other coaches besides just me, but we're going to be clinic talk. We're going to be on the field. You're going to see it all. See me coaching, if I can find a whistle. And
on one yesterday, it was so fine. It was my best one I've ever had. I lost it.
Been using that electronic one, but it's just not the same. You can't.
Got the Fox with the rubber, so you can keep it. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Oh yeah, I like the Fox. Yeah, I like the Fox 40 with the whistle with the rubber because it chew on it. Yep, good one.
Yeah, I think you covered it all. Go to athleticpeakmovement.com and sign up. Footballdefense.com. Go get the manual. JoeDanielFootball.com. There's a lot of websites in here these days. Go do the things. Sales opening and closing. Did you already mention that one?
We are in the. Is this going to be next week? Yeah, this will be the 29th. So we have just opened up winter 2026 enrollment for the defensive play caller system. If you want to get in on that, I'm not sending it out to everyone. So if you want to get in on that as a podcast listener, if you missed the emails, go to joedanielfootball.com/DPCS. That closes very soon, February 2nd, I believe, midnight Pacific, that Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And it's February 3rd, whatever it is. Go. Yeah, I think it's February 3rd. But get in on that before that closes. We'll be closing enrollment here again, February 3rd. So next week. So if you're listening to it, joedanielfootball.com/DPCS. If you missed it, go to joedanielfootball.com/DPCS and put your information in to get on the wait list for the next time we open it.
Love it. Social media, I'm at Coach Chamberlain OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. Jump over to Patreon, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Look, I have a ton of tiers there. I think I'm about to open up a film section where you can get into my film catalog, which is a lot of very top, high-ranking NCAA stuff. I don't know how much I can say legally. I know other people sell it, so I don't know. We'll see. Anyway.
Legally, they're not supposed to either, but
yeah, illegally. So legally, I didn't say that, and you can text me for more details. Joe, where are you at?
I am at Football Info on X, at Joe Daniel Football on Instagram, Facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football, but main play and TikTok is maybe JDFB, maybe Joe Daniel Football. I have no idea. It depends on how many characters they let you have. That's right. But mainly, if you want to find all of the things we've been talking about, JoeDanielFootball.com. And then if you have any questions, if you can't find something, if you're not sure, email Joe at JoeDanielFootball.com.
Perfect. If this is your first time listening to Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher, especially Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's where we get a lot of our listeners. If you've been listening for a while, please leave a review. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. And remember, coach simple, play fast, win.